Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
I say it every week. We just got wrapped up with recruiting for 2011, but Alabama blowing it out for 2012. Another commitment yesterday, Rodney, and he is an outstanding prospect. Out of Douglas High School in Atlanta, Justin Taylor, 5'10", 215 pounds. His high school coach, who knows a little bit about running back, Stanley Pritchett, former South Carolina Gamecock and NFL running back, compares him very favorably. Alabama fans will like this with Mark Ingram.
Yep, Gary, 1,500 yards last year in only 10 games. You look at the size, a lot like Ingram was coming out of high school, and he's a tough physical back. He's definitely in the Mark Ingram mold.
All right, good pickup for the Crimson Tide. And with that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock Bottling Company. They put out great soft drinks, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, and Diet Dr. Pepper. Among them, we're enjoying Diet DRP tonight. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. So, the class of 2012 already taking shape. And you saw a commitment coming from Junior Day this past weekend. A number of other top prospects were on campus over the weekend. Everybody's always interested in quarterbacks. Of course, we know Jameis Winston from Hueytown is high on Alabama's radar, but so is Grayson Lambert, another Georgia native that the Crimson Tide very serious about trying to gain his services.
Yep, and I may mention, make sure that everyone knows, Jameis Winston was at the Junior Day. He showed up late. He had the baseball scrimmage, but he did make it on Saturday afternoon. And Grayson Lambert, you see there, great height, excellent pro-style passer. Gary, Alabama's strongly in the mix with him already. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the Southeast. Georgia, North Carolina State, Clemson also in the mix.
Alabama really likes NFL size and quality type tight ends because they do so much with their tight ends. They're expected to block, they're expected to release and block downfield, and catch passes. Leif Harlow, you got a story on your website today about him. He certainly fits that Alabama bill. Now, Preston Dial might have been a little undersized, but for the most part, Nick Saban's going to recruit guys 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 230, 40, 50 pounds. What about Harlow?
Yeah, Leif plays for former Alabama assistant head coach Ronnie Cockle at Godby High School in Tallahassee, and he's an outstanding player. Gary's got a lot of impressive offers. Notre Dame, UCLA, USC's on the verge of offering. Florida should offer soon. Alabama has not offered, but they told him at the Junior Day, Nick Saban did at this past Saturday, they're very close to offering. Leif told me last night, of course, it's in the story on TiderInsider.com, that as soon as Alabama offers, he's ready to commit.
A lot like what we saw this past weekend with the running back. Okay, Alabama's defense is predicated on a lot of things. Scheme is one of them, and because they do so many things, when they have a breakdown, it's usually because a quarterback makes a mistake or loses coverage. Corner is a critical position in Nick Saban's defense, and Geno Smith, maybe a little undersized in terms of his body weight, but in terms of speed, footwork, and ability to cover, this guy's got the talent.
Super athlete, one of the top players in the state of Georgia. I don't think there's any question about that. Out of St. Pius High School there, and widely recruited. Gary, been offered by Alabama for some time. He was here this past weekend, had a great visit. Again, he's a guy that you're going to have to fight to get, but he's an excellent player. We'll see, kind of how it develops.
Real quickly, Rodney, we're going to move to basketball. I know it's 11 months away, or more than 11 months away until signing day, but the way it's looking, this could be a Texas-type recruiting class. What I mean by that is it could practically be wrapped up by the summer. Well,
and again, I think you're off to a fast start in terms of number-wise right now, Gary, at 9. There's several others that probably are ready to commit. Now, whether it'll get to 20 by, early March like Texas does, I don't see that happening. I think it'll be kind of like this year. It'll kind of start fast and slow down a little bit, maybe pick up some in the summer, and then you come down towards National Signing Day and you still have 5 or 6 top guys still out there.
All right, another productive recruiting weekend for Alabama, a productive weekend for the Alabama men's basketball team, and we've been having a lot of those lately. The Crimson Tide wrapped up at least a share of the SEC West on Saturday and guaranteed itself a #1 seed in the SEC tournament by virtue of owning the tiebreaker in the West. But when it comes to the NCAA tournament, Bama's not guaranteed a spot by any means. Coach Anthony Grant hasn't said much about his team's postseason possibilities to the press or even his players.
I don't think I have to. I think you guys do a pretty good job of that. I'm sure those guys, they're watching ESPN, they're online, they're paying attention. And obviously, I think anybody that plays college basketball, your goal is to make the tournament and obviously be a part of that special time of year.
And Rodney, as we look at Alabama's tournament resume, you see the 18-8, but you really see the impressive part of the record, the 10-2 in the Southeastern Conference. Now, they're the RPI numbers, strength of schedule numbers. We've heard all about it till ad nauseum. And listen, I understand the number is important, and I understand the numbers have allowed guys that would probably be pencil pushers to become celebrities because they've got a formula for all this kind of stuff. But I still like the eye test, the way we used to do it in the old days. You look at a basketball team and you say, is that one of the best now 68 teams in the country? It's clear to me Alabama is. It's not even close. They're one of the top 25 teams in the country right now, even though they're not ranked. I hope that common sense will prevail, and if Alabama goes 3-1 down the stretch, which is what I believe that they will do, and finish 13-3 in the SEC, I think they should be in the tournament regardless of what happens in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, Gary, and I think really, when you look at it, you ought to put it into perspective, just what it is. Did you expect them to be 10-2 at this point?
Nobody did. And again, the pre-conference schedule was a disappointment. There's no doubt about that. But this is a power conference. I know it's not quite on the level of the Big East, the Big Ten, maybe even the Big 12, but it's a good conference, and when you're sitting here at 10-2, and if you win or share the regular season championship, you've got to be in the NCAA tournament, in my opinion, end of story. And pre-conference is important, but it can't override what you do in your conference.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Gary. You talk about the strength of the SEC and how well Alabama's done. I think they should, as you mentioned, Gary, I think it's a no-brainer that Alabama should be in the tournament.
Another no-brainer? Tony Mitchell for SEC Player of the Week. It's about time. That's all I can say. His 27 points against Arkansas, 9 rebounds. What a game. Kind of capped off another good week for him. He had 15 against LSU. He's the SEC Men's Player of the Week. And Erica Russell, former Northridge Lady Jag, the Women's Player of the Week after averaging 16.5 points in 2 games last week. Both victories. Alabama's women have won 3 in a row now, which is news in its own right. Matter of fact, we'll talk more about it later. Other honors this week. Geraldine Stack-Eaton is the SEC Gymnast of the Week. And Jackie Trena is the SEC Softball Freshman of the Week. So Alabama did a lot of winning this past week, and it pays off with honors from the conference office. And still to come on Titv, we'll go around the diamond and talk about the Alabama baseball and softball teams some more. But up next, why is the Alabama women's basketball squad ready to party like it's 1999? All right, we'll have the answer. You'll figure it out pretty quick. Stay tuned. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only Tider Insider TV. We'll get to your phone calls and emails as well. Stay with us. Your phone calls and emails are coming up on Tider Insider TV in just a moment. But first, we've got to talk about the Alabama women's basketball team. They're partying again like it's 1999. What am I talking about? Well, for the first time since 99, the Bama women have won 3 SEC games in a row. They did it on Sunday by knocking off Ole Miss 61-52. Maybe it's a change of venue. They're now 2-0 in Foster Auditorium since moving into that building. They've won 4 of their last 5, one more victory, and they'll have won their 5th conference game, the first time that's happened since 2002. So kudos to Wendell Hudson. He's been telling me that the program's on the right track. I'm telling you something, Rodney. I believe it. Okay, also let's talk about the Alabama baseball and softball teams, both in action today. We'll update you on their games, and we'll look back at their weekend sweeps. That's coming up. Plus, we'll get to your phone calls and emails, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882, or you can email us at TITV@WVUATV.com. We'll be back right after this. Let's check in on Bama baseball and softball. The Crimson Tide defeated Alabama State 11-7. They were cruising 11-1, but the Hornets got 6 runs off the Tide bullpen in the 7th inning to make that game competitive. Still, though, the Tide gets the victory. And in softball, Alabama playing at UAB. They're scoreless. UAB's got a pretty good club, 0-0 on top of the 3rd over there in Birmingham. We'll have highlights of both those games tonight at 10. More now on the Alabama women's softball team in a second, but first, it was opening weekend for the Alabama baseball squad. They swept Alcorn State, Rodney, in a weekend series over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, again, Alabama against Alcorn State, you would expect the Tide to sweep that series, although the SWAC plays pretty good baseball. So it's hard to get a gauge on this team completely. We know they lost their entire infield from third, around the horn, third, short, second, first. All those guys playing professional baseball, they've had to replace that. Pitching looks like it's going to be pretty good. Starting pitching looks like it's going to be really good. Some questions about the bullpen. But I tell you this, they win today. You don't know how good they're going to be, but I guarantee you this, had they lost 1 or 2 of those ball games, you'd be really concerned. All they can do is play the schedule they're playing, and so far they're off to a good start.
Yeah, again, we're early in Mitch Gaspard's tenure. I told you it was going to probably take some time, Gary, with his recruiting his ability to relate to players and what he does, I think he's going to do an outstanding job.
And if last year's any indicator, they were a lot like Alabama's basketball team this year. The baseball team just improved as they went along, and by the end of the season, they were a load, almost making it to Omaha. Well, Alabama played its softball home openers this past weekend as well. They hosted the Bama Bash, and in the process, all they did was win 5 games and go to 10-0. And listen to what they've done. They've outscored their opponents 101-28, and Louisville got most of those runs in one game. They've hit 24 home runs in 10 games. That is absolutely phenomenal. We know the pitching's solid. I think, though, that Coach Murphy, Rodney, is probably surprised by this offensive output so far.
But I got to ask you, you said Louisville got most of those runs in one game. How many did they score in that?
I think Bama came back and beat them 10-9, 11-9, something like that.
I got you.
So, great comeback.
Yeah, and we talk about it every year. You really don't. I know Patrick Murphy doesn't want us to jinx him. We always talk about that. We start talking early about that national championship because I know that's his next step.
That's
what he wants.
That's the only thing left. And heartbreak last year against Hawaii in the Super Regional, didn't make it out to Oklahoma City. I tell you, they're focused on not just getting there but winning it all. All right, let's go to the phones. First up is Tim calling us from Coleman. Tim, welcome into the program.
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Doing great, Tim.
I just wanted to mention about our basketball recruiting, and I just wondered how we were sitting there, and do y'all know anything about a young man from Lee of Huntsville called? His name is Devin Langford.
Okay, first let me tell you how they're doing so far, and the answer is great. Coach Grant signed 4 players in the early signing period. And all of those guys looked good at the time. They look even better now, the high school guys do, since they've been playing. Nick Jacob, power forward out of Atlanta, 6'8", about 250. But the 2 guys they're really excited about, in-state players, Levi Randolph and Rodney Cooper, both in that 6'5", 6'6" range. Long, lanky, typical Alabama players. Both, though, can stroke it. Both have a very nice shot. The 4 signee is Moses Gaye, a big junior college center, 7 feet tall, originally from Africa, playing up in Illinois. He has not played this year. A situation there with his junior college, but anytime you're 7 feet and athletic, you got a chance. Now, the player that they're really chasing for the late signing period is Trevor Lacey, point guard out of Butler High School in Huntsville, of course, Rodney, Kentucky, and all the big schools after him. The young man you ask about, I'm familiar with him in terms of his name. Can't give you much information on him. I'll just have to check on him and see if I can find out more about him. But a great class so far. If they could get Lacey, that would really be the cherry on top. All right, let's talk to RW, who's calling us this evening from Carrollton. Welcome in, RW. How are you?
Just fine. I was just wondering, do y'all think Fluker will move to the left side? And if not, who do you think will fill that position?
Well, RW, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think DJ Fluker would move to the left side. I know when he came in, a lot of people had him the #1 left tackle in high school football when he came here a couple of years ago. But I think he's right where he needs to be, at right tackle. And if he weren't at right tackle, he'd probably be a guard, to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure he quite moves like he would need to move, have the range to play left tackle and that ability, but he is an outstanding player at what he does. Now, Aaron Douglas, the junior college player from Arizona, who, of course, started 2 years ago for Tennessee at right tackle, played left tackle last season at Arizona Western. I think he's going to be your starting left tackle. He's here already. He's already enrolled in school, so he's going to have the opportunity to go through spring practice. And, again, that means so much. We remember James Carpenter, what he did stepping in for Andre Smith. You hope that Aaron Douglas can do the same thing. Now, again, remember, Aaron Douglas was a starter at Tennessee. He has the ability. Tom Minnick, the head coach out there at Arizona Western, said if he does everything he has to do, he's an NFL guy in 2 years. So
how about that? We will see. All right, let's talk to Marquise calling us from Tuscaloosa. Welcome into the program. How are you?
How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, I wanted to know, with Blake Sims being the athlete that he is and being able to play quarterback in high school, you think he'll get any snaps this year in the Wildcat formation?
Well, that's a good question, and I'll let Rodney expand on it. But to answer your question, I will very quickly. Yes, I think there's an excellent opportunity that he could fit into that package.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, Gary. I think when you look at what Blake Sims can do, and again, he hasn't done anything on this level. He was a freshman last year, redshirted for those who don't know, but he was an outstanding high school quarterback. He's an excellent talent in terms of being able to run the ball and also throw it. So, right now he's kind of working as a tailback / slot receiver, and, will probably fit into that Wildcat system. But he does bring the threat. We've talked about, will Alabama ever throw the ball, Gary, out of that Wildcat formation? He's a guy that would bring a legitimate threat to that.
And we saw one time last year when they do throw it, it's got a good chance to pay dividends. Marquise Mays against Florida.
That's right.
Yeah, it is.
Michael Williams.
Yeah, finding Michael Williams because it worked out well in that instance. Okay, email question. This comes to us from Fred in Tuscaloosa. Will Philip Sims start next year for the Crimson Tide? We don't know. It's going to be a battle between Sims and A.J. McCarron. It's going to be a good battle. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how it shakes out.
We hadn't had a battle like that around here in a long time.
They're gonna go.
I know they talk about Watson, Zhao, and those two guys were super players, great leaders, but this is going to be a real battle when you look at the talent that both of these guys have. Obviously, they're outstanding passers and played in pro-style offenses, and they bring a lot of ability. And again, when you talk about it, I've said many times, one of the biggest questions, Gary, I have headed into the season is the quarterback position. It has nothing to do with talent. It's just experience. All right,
205-348-WVOA is the number. Give us a call. We've got some lines open. We'll take more phone calls and get to some more emails right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to Tider Insider Television. More phone calls in a moment. But first, you'll notice that Rodney and I are outfitted, as always, with original elephant wear from the Locker Room, located on the University Strip. I really like that shirt you've got on.
When did you get that tie? Did it come with that shirt?
This tie didn't come with this shirt, but this shirt has caught a lot of attention. And you know what? You can get a lot of attention, too, in original elephant wear. Just swing by the Locker Room Monday through Saturday, see Alex, Rush, or any of the guys there, or look them up online at www.locker-room.biz. You can browse their inventory and order online. Elephant wear has taken Tuscaloosa by storm, and the home for it is the Locker Room, a Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964. Okay, back to the phone calls now. First up in this segment, Joseph in Tuscaloosa. Joseph, welcome in.
How you doing there, Gary? Rodney, how y'all doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, but now I'm going to ask y'all a little question on something. Now, does it ever occur to us on the football that we're going to need a scrambling quarterback if we're going to continue to beat teams like LSU, Mississippi State, and Auburn? Now, does A.J. McCarron have that kind of poise in him?
Well, Joseph, I think he does. I mean, I think he's got the ability to move his feet. Greg McElroy wasn't a great scrambler, but he could buy himself some time, and when he had to run, he could run. In Alabama's offense, I don't think you have to have a great running quarterback. I think that they've proven with John Parker Wilson and Greg McElroy they can win a lot of games with guys that are athletic but not necessarily runners. So, yeah, I think A.J. McCarron can handle that. And let's say this about Philip Sims. He's an athletic kid as well, but he's not a running quarterback.
No.
Wasn't in high school at all.
No, and you talk about Greg McElroy. Remember, he made some huge scrambles in his career, and again, he was a good athlete. But when you look at A.J. McCarron, he probably moves a little bit better than Greg McElroy. And certainly very, very dangerous throwing the ball on the run, as is Philip Sims. And a lot of people just automatically assume that maybe McCarron can't move well, or maybe Philip Sims is more of a rollout or a scrambling type quarterback. But Philip Sims is an outstanding pocket passer, and he can move around. He has the athletic ability to throw on the run, but they're both guys that like to sit back there and throw in the pocket.
Yeah, they're similar players. That's what's going to make this quarterback battle so interesting to watch. Okay, let's stay in Tuscaloosa and talk with CB. CB, what's up there, my buddy?
Not much, my man. Coach Hutchins really got them scrapping and scratching, and he's trying to get them back on track because women's basketball been down for a while. As you know, Reggie, he's going to scratch us up any heights. He does.
Well, they need to get bigger. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the game Sunday against Ole Miss, even though Alabama won that game, I mean, they were severely, facing an uphill battle in terms of height. You've got Horn, the freshman, listed at 6'1". She's 6 feet, 6'1". Tierney Jenkins is about 6 feet. They bring Mitchum in off the bench. He's 6'2", and that's about it. And they're going up against teams that have 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" post players. So, yeah, I know he would like to get a little bit bigger, but the best or the most important thing is to get good players, regardless of how they're. You don't want to get somebody that's 6'5" and can't play. But he would like to get some taller players, I'm sure. All right, BT's on the line. What's up there, BT?
What's up, Gary and Rodney?
How you doing, BT?
I'm doing good. I'm going to ask Gary about that 7-footer. What's the scoop on him? He played, didn't he?
Yeah, BT. Carl Engstrom not playing a lot because, quite frankly, right now he's not good enough to be in the rotation. That's about all I can tell you. He played a lot in the pre-conference schedule, but since they've gotten into the SEC play, I still think he's got some tools. I mean, he's 7'1". Talking about height, you can't coach that. He's fairly athletic, but he's got a long way to go to be good enough to play in this league. But hopefully he'll stick it out, and next year or down the road we'll get an opportunity to get on the floor. All right, stick around. The power of pink was in full force this weekend at UA. That story when Tider Insider TV continues right after this. Well, Friday night was a special night at the Capstone for a lot of reasons. At Sewell Thomas Stadium, David Kindred returned to the lineup. Last year during the SEC tournament, he found out he was suffering from lymphoma. Fast forward to February, and he's not only cancer-free, he's back playing baseball. He was honored before Friday's game and caught the first pitch from Governor Robert Bentley. At that same time, the Coleman Coliseum crowd was lit up in pink as gymnastics held its 7th annual Power Peak Meet. The annual event seeks to raise awareness in the fight against breast cancer. 18 breast cancer survivors were introduced. A check for $1 million representing the total money raised in 7 years was presented. It was a great, great night. And it's going to be a great, great night for dinner. I got to warn the folks over at Buddy's, Philip, Guy, and Maureen and them, that I'm very, very hungry tonight. So go ahead and get the filet ready, medium. We're coming to Buddy's for dinner. You should try it too. Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport, a great place to chow down and come by and meet Rodney Orr. He'll sign an autograph for you.
And Gary will buy you a piece of pie.
Don't go that far. That's going to do it for this week's program. And remember, the only place that you can catch it anytime you want is our website, WVUATV.com. We'll have a full show posted later on this evening. So for Rodney and our entire TITV crew, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week. So long, everybody.